Hi everyone, it's a banquet. That's what I've been calling it. That's what I called it in the first video, and I couldn't remember in my second video, the one from yesterday, what term I used to describe me making videos each day of the week. Yeah, I'm calling it a banquet, a video banquet for my channel. So I thought today I'd try something a little different and talk a little bit about the television that I've been watching, because that's been much more, much bigger consumer of my time than movies have been. I mean, I'm still going to the theater to see films and getting the DVDs and what have you and watching them, but TV has taken a lot of extra time. In particular, certain shows. I have sort of like a list of all these different shows and when the new episodes aired, so when I go on demand I can sort of just pick out what I need to see by the date that it aired. It's a convenience. And I'm also recording shows and everything like that. I didn't, up until like the summer, I didn't have, you know, a DVR. I didn't have on demand, basically. I just watched stuff when it was on, and luckily the stuff that I was most interested in happened to be on when I was home, when I had the night off. I work 3 evenings a week, so so I'm not always here to see stuff when it's on, but luckily, now I don't have to worry about it anymore. However, this creates a problem because, as you can see, there's a whole bunch of episodes that I have not crossed off. Actually, I did see the last episode of Designated Survivor. That airs on Wednesdays. Kiefer Sutherland is the president, and they're not resuming that one until March, which is really disappointing because somebody tried to take a shot at him, and I want to find out what happened. I have a theory that his wife gets shot. His wife is played by Natasha McElhone from Ronin, and she was on. She was David Duchovny's ex-husband on Californication. She was also in the Truman Show, of course. But yeah, it's going to be a while before we get to see what happened to poor President Kiefer Sutherland and his family, or somebody else that might have been standing close by to him. American Housewife. I saw the first episode of that when it aired. A brand new series. Haven't watched a single episode since. Just haven't taken the time to. I saw the first episode of Scream Queens this season with Emma Roberts, right? Emma Roberts on Fox, and haven't seen a single episode, although I've been keeping track of every new episode just so that I can catch up at some point if I feel like it. Frequency. I really like the film, and this is basically an adaptation of the film. But I haven't watched anything past the first episode again. I really sort of feel like this is telling of where my interests lie. If I start watching a show but don't continue on with it and prioritize other stuff over it, the show itself might not be that important to me after all. One show I did keep up with quite a lot before I moved here was The Big Bang Theory, and there's a whole bunch of new episodes from this season. I haven't watched a single one of them. You know, I at this point I can take or leave. I used to really dig that show. I watched like marathons every Tuesday night. TBS had marathons. And so I'd get to watch like 6 episodes in a row, which I found more satisfying than watching a single half-hour episode. So anyway, and Sci-Fi has a new show called Incorporated, which just started in December, or maybe it was, yeah, it was the end of November, I think. Anyway, I saw the first episode of that, and can get caught up because I'm only like 4 episodes behind, but I don't know if I will because I had a huge logic error with the first episode. Something happened in the very first episode of the show that I went, what? That makes no sense at all. I'm intrigued by the premise, but I don't know if I'll keep up with it. Now the shows that I have been keeping up with are Shooter. Ryan Phillippe plays basically the Mark Wahlberg role from the film. It's like The Fugitive, except instead of the guy on the run being a doctor, he is a Marine sniper, and he's very, very good. So yeah, he's been dealing with a lot of stuff. Did I watch? Yeah, no, they just aired an episode tonight. As I'm recording this, I just got home from work on Tuesday. It's actually technically Wednesday now because it's after midnight. So they aired an episode, and I'll have to on-demand that when I get a chance. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., of course, been keeping up with that. They had a new episode. I recorded it, so I'll be able to watch that, and also, yeah, like I said, Designated Survivor. I also was keeping track of all the the CW shows involving superheroes. I have the whole list of all the 4 superhero shows they've got on the CW and the date of each one, and they've got them all crossed off. I've got in this box right here, the crossover, the big 4-episode crossover. Actually, it's more like a 3-episode crossover, but I actually didn't cross those off because I'd seen them. I'd seen them all in a row, and I just didn't get a chance to cross them off. These are new episodes, which I haven't seen yet, so I may get caught up on that. Those shows are pretty cheesy. Some of them are interesting as far as like the characters. They all seem really similar to each other in that you have maybe one central hero, but then the group, you know, the Scoobies, every hero has his Scooby gang like in Buffy. But Legends of Tomorrow is different because it's more of an ensemble show. There's no one single main character, it doesn't seem like. Anyway, I found those enjoyable mostly, but not great, and I don't know if I'll keep up with it. Probably the show that I like the least is The Flash. I'd like to keep up with Supergirl, just because I like the characters in that, and it's Supergirl, you know. But who knows? Haven't made a decision on that. Like I said, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything like that. I actually just finished the 3rd season of You're the Worst, which is a basic cable show, which is a comedy about people who are just very, very selfish and kind of terrible in general. I really enjoyed it. I like the actors in it. They're good. But yeah, that's one that I actually finished. I also recently finished the 2nd season of Mr. Robot. I've seen all the episodes of that, just 2 seasons so far, but I've seen them all. I got caught up with the 4th season of House of Cards, so I've seen that show in its entirety so far. Season 6 of Game of Thrones, Season 6 of Shameless, I've seen both those shows in their entirety so far. And there'll be new Game of Thrones, I know, later this year. There's a new HBO show with Nicole Kidman, Reese Witherspoon, and Shailene Woodley that I'm actually considering subscribing to HBO just for that show. Well, at least initially. I mean, I'll watch the other HBO shows. I want to watch Westworld. Haven't seen that. I've seen just the 1st episode because I happen to be staying in a hotel that had HBO when the 1st episode aired, the week that it aired, so I got to see that. But I haven't seen the rest of it because I don't have HBO. With the other shows, I've basically just been getting caught up via the discs with House of Cards, with Game of Thrones and Shameless. You know, I don't have those services, so I get the disc from the library. Easy peasy. Got a week to catch up on everything. You know, it works out nicely. And right now I'm working on Brain Dead. Brain Dead was a show that started last fall but got canceled. I love the show. It's so much fun, and I'm about halfway through the season right now. It's just going to be whatever group of episodes exist. That's all that will be of that show. So I'm gonna get that taken care of, finish it, and enjoy that because it's really great. Brain Dead. Mary Elizabeth Winstead takes place in Washington D.C. What else? Yeah, that's about it for TV. Oh, also, I've been watching a lot more news the past couple of years because of the election and everything like that, and I really have gotten hooked on Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow appears for an hour 5 nights a week on MSNBC. She really sort of breaks down a lot of really important stuff. And I've heard her called the Queen of Context, which, you know, is very, very fitting because she talks a lot about all the different sort of precedents that led up to what's happening right now and the history of certain people and the history of this political process and that organization and what have you. And it says, so here's what's happening right now and how it's going to affect us possibly in the future. Yeah, really enjoying that. And her outrage over the stuff that's happening over the Trump administration is palpable. And it's kind of invigorating, actually. It's kind of invigorating to see her sort of silently scream and also laugh at the same time at just how, you know, crazy things are getting there. So yeah, that's the TV that I'm watching, really. I mean, oftentimes I find myself under a lot of pressure when I see a new movie, either it's on disc or in the theater, a lot of pressure to really like it, to really make good decisions as far as the movies I go to see in the theater. And I find the pressure is a lot less when I'm just catching something that happens to be on TV. For example, Denzel Washington in The Equalizer. That was on a couple weeks ago. I caught the scene where he approaches the Russian gangster in the restaurant and has a conversation with him. Really good scene. And I'm like, this is a really decent movie. Why didn't I like it that much when I first saw it? I'm not sure. But I gathered that I felt pressure to like it, or pressure to form some sort of opinion on it, or pay close attention to what was happening so I could, you know, analyze it critically or something like that when I first saw it. And I don't have that problem, of course, when I'm watching a movie that I've already seen. Part of the problem is also my YouTube videos. when I feel pressure to try and think of something interesting to say about a brand new movie, that makes the process less enjoyable. When I see a new movie, it's hard to just sort of sit back and enjoy it, unless I'm not planning on talking about it on YouTube at all or anything like that. I just want to enjoy this. I don't care what like with Gods of Egypt or something like that. You know, I don't care, and that actually allows me to enjoy it a little bit more because there's less pressure. But like I said, I'm seeing less movies in the theater. I put off seeing the new Scorsese movie. I've put off seeing Jackie and a couple of others that could be really good, but then again, there's a lot of pressure in devoting the time and money to seeing something in the theater that I haven't felt the past few years, I guess. Maybe it's because I have less money now, I don't know. That could be the reason, but also it's just more of an ordeal going to the theater now based on where I live than it used to be when I was living in the city. I don't know. Anyway, so I find myself latching onto TV more, and also just to, you know, with the enjoyment of seeing movies that I've already seen is more pronounced now, or at least it's just easier. It's just more enjoyable. You know, I'd like to be able to go back to a time when I didn't have to worry about every single movie that I watched. I could just watch whatever and go, yeah, that was good, or oh, I really like that. And sometimes I worry that I'll never love a new movie as much as, say, the movies from like the 80s and 90s, or even like as recently as 2010, when Inception and Toy Story 3 came out, and both of those were so incredible, and I loved them so much. And I haven't seen anything quite that good since then. Not really. Not that I really love. I mean, they've been excellent movies, very good movies, but do I love them? Yeah, it's a little iffy. Anyway, one more thing I wanted to talk about. Another top 10 list. I did a long top 10 list yesterday. Well, excuse me. But I wanted to do another one. This is something I just thought up a couple of days ago. Top 10 directors that I was unaware of prior to the year 2000, basically. Starting with the year 2000, moving forward, directors that I discovered, not literally discovered, but became aware of since that time. What are my 10 favorites? I went through my top 10 lists of movies from, 2000 forward, and just picked out 10 names that I particularly like. As much as I would have liked to include Alfonso Cuarón or Sam Mendes or Brad Bird, each one of those guys I saw one of their movies in 1999 or earlier, so they did not qualify. Number 10, J.C. Chandor, the director of Margin Call and A Most Violent Year, both of which made my favorite films of the year list. He also did All Is Lost with Robert Redford, but I didn't like that one as much. Maybe it was the theater that I saw it in. It just wasn't that satisfying. It's a very non-verbal movie, whereas the others are very dialogue-driven. Number 9, Andrew Stanton, director of A Bug's Life, Finding Nemo, WALL-E, and John Carter of Mars. I especially like WALL-E. Like John Carter of Mars quite a bit. Finding Nemo, all three of those movies made my list of the top 5 movies of their particular year. Anthony and Joe Russo, they did a couple of movies that I haven't seen beginning in 2002. One was called Welcome to Collinwood. I have no idea what that's about or who's in it. Another is You, Me, and Dupree with Owen Wilson and Kate Hudson. And looking at the clip of that movie, I wouldn't have thought that it would be like one of my favorite directors making it, but then they went on to make The Winter Soldier and Captain America Civil War, and they're doing the 2 Infinity War movies, and they have killed on those so far, and so they're a very, very exciting couple of guys right there. Sam Esmail is the creator of Mr. Robot. This is number 7. He directed all the episodes from Season 2 and a few of them from Season 1. Very unusual guy, weird framing on these, but he also directed at least one feature film called Comet. This is the only one that I'm aware of, but I did see it last year, and I really liked it a lot. It's a drama with Justin Long and Emmy Rossum, and I think it's Justin Long anyway. It's been a little while since I've seen it. I'm pretty sure it's Justin Long, though. Told in non-chronological order. Story of their relationship told in non-chronological order. Really, really cool movie. Really, really clever. And it does have that weird framing that Mr. Robot has with all the weird space above everybody's head. Kind of strange. Anyway, Comet's a really good movie. You ought to take a look at it. Number 6, Kelly Reichardt. Kelly Reichardt, her first film I saw was Wendy and Lucy with Michelle Williams. It was one of my favorite movies of the last decade. It came out in early 2009, but I got to see it at the Chicago Film Festival the previous fall. She went on to do Meek's Cutoff, which is a Western, also with Michelle Williams, as well as Paul Dano and Bruce Greenwood and Zoe Kazan. She did a movie called Night Moves with Jesse Eisenberg and Dakota Fanning, and they are plotting to blow up a dam as a domestic terrorism, an act of domestic terrorism. And recently, Certain Women, which also has Michelle Williams in it. Good movies all, especially Wendy and Lucy. She's definitely a great director. Number 5, Denis Villeneuve, the director of the recent Arrival. He also did Prisoners and Enemy, both with Jake Gyllenhaal, and of course, one of my favorite movies of 2015, Sicario, with Emily Blunt and Benicio del Toro. Really fantastic movie, made my top 5 of that year. Number 4, Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright is a director that I think lots of people really like a lot. Not a big fan of Hot Fuzz, but Shaun of the Dead, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, The World's End, and he's got a new movie coming out this year called Baby Driver, which I somehow left off of my most anticipated list when I did it last week. Guy's got a style that's just great, you know, really, really funny, very clever, very witty guy. Yeah, excited for any movie that he makes. Number 3, Kenneth Lonergan. Kenneth Lonergan is the director of Manchester by the Sea, which I saw in December, and it's fantastic. A really, really great movie. It's tied with a couple other movies as a potential favorite movie of 2016. Prior to that, he did Margaret with Anna Paquin, which was a movie that I thought was quite excellent. And in the year 2000, You Can Count on Me with Laura Linney and Mark Ruffalo also made my 10 favorite movies of that particular year. What a talented guy. You know, can't wait to see more from him. You know, it'll be a few years before his next film, I'm sure. I'm tempted to go see Manchester by the Sea, but given the rarity of which I see movies these days, seeing anything twice is a pretty rare event. So, you know, I've seen one movie twice this year, and that was Civil War. Number 2, Christopher Nolan. He was the first guy I thought of for this list. He made Following in '98, but I didn't see anything by him and wasn't aware of him until 2001 when I saw Memento, which of course I love, The Prestige, which is so great, Inception, Interstellar, and of course the 3 Dark Knight movies. I don't love all of them, but man, the guy, you know, is really exciting filmmaker. Finally, number 1, Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon, most of his work I know from television. I didn't really get into Buffy, his first TV show, until the 4th season, which would have put it in 2000. But then, of course, I went back and watched the previous seasons, as well as, you know, his other shows. He's written a lot of them, directed a lot of the best episodes of his series. He also, of course, is the director of both Serenity, which is the film spin-off from Firefly, and the 2 Avengers movies so far. Very, very witty, very clever director. He's such a great guy. And he is my number 1 favorite director of the new millennium, a guy who I became aware of in the new millennium. That's my list right there. Hope you enjoyed that. Just something I thought up to do, you know, did a little bit of research, threw the list together. Hope you enjoyed it. And I hope that if you haven't seen some of these films or seen the work of some of these directors, that you do check it out, because check them out, because they're quite good. Yeah. Especially Kenneth Lonergan. He's really great. Because I figure less people have seen his movies than, say, Joss Whedon and Christopher Nolan, I'm guessing. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for continuing to stay with me on my video banquet, right? Is that it? Yes, I'm calling it a banquet. And I'll have another video tomorrow. Later.